Hi, my name is Greg Nelson. I'm a luthier here in Northern California. Recently got a request from a good friend of mine asking me to help him intonate his electric guitar. And I said, no, I won't do that for you, but I'll show you how to do it. So that was how this video came to be. Intonation is an important aspect of your instrument, and it's a pretty simple thing to do in its basics and a whole lot of art and science when you get into the more sophisticated sides of it. So I'm going to start off simply here with this beautiful electric guitar. I'm going to show you how to get it closer into tune as you play up the neck. If you have perfect pitch, you won't be needing the tuner for this operation. You'll already know that the note is right or wrong. But for those of us who don't have perfect pitch, these electronic tuning devices are a godsend. You can get very sophisticated strobe tuners and the like will give you more accurate readings, but this is perfectly acceptable, something on this level, to be able to intonate your instrument. So I'm going to start off with the low E string here, and I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to see if I'm even in tune. Let's check this out. Oh my goodness, look at that. We're in good shape. So now I need to stop the string, and I'm going to check it at the octave. String physics being what it's going to be, it'll be in tune up on the next octave up. So then I want to check and see if I'm in tune. I should be able to fret at the 12th now and get the same note. Oh my goodness. Now I've previously already set this thing up so it would be a little bit sharp, but you can see I'm at least 10 cents high on the fretted note. So what that means is that when I've fretted this, I've stretched it so hard that I need to lengthen or compensate the length of the distance from the nut to the saddle. I promised I wasn't going to get too complicated here. Simply put, it's going to be, if it's too sharp, I need to move the saddle away from the nut. If it's too flat, I need to move it towards the nut. Different instruments have different ways of adjusting the compensation. This collar bridge allows me to loosen this screw, and then I can push the saddle a little bit more towards the tail. Tighten it again. I've now lengthened the string. Let's see what that does. Okay, let's see what happens now. I'm going to hit a harmonic on the 12th. Beautiful. Now I'm going to fret the 12th. Wonderful. So there it is. It's not much more difficult than that in basic terms. If all you want is a simple tutorial on how to do it, you've got it right there. If you hit the harmonic and then you hit the fretted note, and the fretted note is sharper than the harmonic, move the saddle away from the nut. If the fretted note is flatter, move it towards the nut until they match. Now your instrument's in tune and it'll always play perfectly. Those people who want the simple answer gone now? Good, because it's far more complicated than that, and it's far more complicated than anything I'll present in this video. But I'm going to show you a couple of more things here that'll help you move along towards getting that intonation where you want it to be. Now here is just one of the many reasons why you're never going to get perfect intonation every time. I'm not going to even get into sweetened tunings and which keys you're playing in and all of that sort of stuff. I'm just going to physically look at this one octave intonation that we're doing, because you can intonate anywhere along the neck. I haven't changed anything with this setup since I did the last tuning, and I'll just go ahead and hit the harmonic. There we are, we're perfect. And now I'm going to hit the note. Wow, really sharp. How did that happen? Wait a minute, let's try that again. A little bit flat. Oh my goodness. Perfect. How did that happen? It's my left hand over here. The reason that we're doing this is because when you go to fret a note anywhere along the fretboard, you're necessarily stretching the string and you're sharpening it a little bit. The same way, if you bend to bend a note, you're going to sharp the string. So we make the scale length just a little bit longer to compensate for that. That's why it's called compensation, of course. So I've got this set up right, but why is it giving me different readings? Well, because I'm stretching the string some more. Even though I'm not bending it this way, I'm moving my finger a whole lot closer to the fret, and I'm pushing down really hard. Watch this. So why intonate if it's that easy to throw it out of intonation? Why did I even show that to you? Some of it might be in self-defense so that you're not constantly coming back to your luthier, me, and blaming us for not getting your instrument perfect every time, every song. There are some variables here that are in the player's hands. So that's just one thing that, you could push a little harder, fret a little tighter. It's actually in your control and to your benefit, because we're not always looking for that perfect note each time. Sometimes you want just a little bit of a difference to give it just that little piece of emotion. But again, that's up to your playing. It's not up to the technical setup of the instrument. But you do want to get your instrument intonated properly. Before you start doing that, well, I'm going to assume right now that your instrument plays well for you. The relief is right, the action height is right, the string sizes are the sizes that you like. You can have a perfectly set up instrument, change to a different size string, and the intonation's all gone. It's physics. We're not going to get into all that stuff right now, but just trust me, it's true. A different size string is going to intonate differently. Just take a look at how your instrument's set up with the different lengths of strings, whether it's a wound string or a heavier gauge string or a lighter one. These are all the physics of string dynamics. So before you get started with this, you need to check a few things. If you're a player and you don't want to go check all the different relief dimensions and neck angles and all that stuff, if it's playing well for you, if it's set up right, then you do your intonation. Let's check a couple of things out. As I said earlier, the reason we compensate is because we're going to be stretching the strings when we press down on them. Hopefully this white background will illustrate that pretty well. I've put a capo on the first fret here to try and describe what is relief for those of you who aren't familiar with it. We all know that if you adjust the truss rod, you'll be able to raise and lower the action, but that's not what the truss rod is for. Truss rod is for making sure your relief is correct, and relief simply means that the fretboard itself has got a slight curvature to it while the string is running straight. That allows the string to move without having too high of an action as you get up high. This instrument's got a very low action on it. I play it very lightly, and so I can get away with that, but you can see when I pull the string down, there's still a little bit of room underneath the fretboard. I think I actually kind of want to get a little more relief in this one. I'm going to take the capo off, and now this is my action height right here. So each time I press the string, I have a little less deflection right here, a little less stretching when I'm playing near the nut, and a little more stretching when I'm playing further down the neck. So we have a whole lot of different amounts of stretching here. Moving the adjustment on the saddle to make your intonation correct isn't going to correct every single one of those. This particular instrument has what's known as a 0 fret, and that's one that's just behind the nut. The nut in this instance becomes a string holder almost, and some people do this for various reasons. But if you imagine that 0 fret were your nut, you'll notice that there's an action height here, right at the nut. So the first time you push the string down, you're sharpening the note pretty significantly. The next time you do, it's not as big a difference. So if you're really, really, really getting into how your instrument is intonating and you've done everything you can with the saddle, there is a thing called nut compensation. And that means that the break point of the string at the nut end is moved a small distance towards the saddle, shortening this up making it less of a sharping effect when you're playing in the first positions. Well, I may have gone a little too far starting to talk about nut compensation. That's getting kind of sophisticated. If you're interested in that, there's a lot of information out there, but do some research before you start cutting into your fretboard, that's for sure. Upshot here is that if you're going to try intonating your guitar, do it by the numbers like I started showing you in the beginning. Make sure that things match up, and then play. If a string is playing too flat for you, if you don't like it, sharpen it. There's nothing that says it has to be on the numbers. You can do what you want with it. My personal recommendation as you're playing is to, if you're going to do anything, intonate just slightly flat, because you as the player can sharpen the note, but if you're trying to get a little bit flatter, you can't go there. Just my personal recommendation, my personal philosophy. Do what you will, have fun with it, especially with an adjustable bridge. You can always bring it back to where it was, so have fun.